Big news in the entertainment world. Actor and musician Will Smith has recently been named in a newly filed lawsuit by a professional violinist who alleges sexual harassment in workplace retaliation. These claims are part of a civil complaint and have not been proven in court.
Getting fired or getting blamed or shamed or threatened or anything like that simply for reporting sexual misconduct or safety threats at work is not okay.
All right, we're looking at another high-profile celebrity lawsuit that has just surfaced and is already drawing attention. This time, the individual being sued is Will Smith. The 57-year-old actor and recording artist is facing a lawsuit brought by a professional violinist who either appeared or was expected to appear on Smith's music tour. The lawsuit includes allegations related to sexual harassment and retaliation. Now, before we go any further, it's important to be very clear. These are allegations outlined in a legal complaint. Nothing has been decided by a judge or jury. Will Smith has the right to respond, defend himself, and contest these claims, and no liability has been established. What we're going to do here is walk through what is actually written in the complaint, explain the legal claims being made, and carefully look at what is being alleged without assuming any conclusions. So first, let's talk about who filed this lawsuit. The case was submitted in California State Court on behalf of Brian King Joseph. Before getting into the specific allegations, one notable detail is the attorney representing him. The lawsuit was filed by attorney Jonathan Delshad, who was in the news recently after filing lawsuits on behalf of two men who accused actor and producer Tyler Perry of sexual assault. One of those cases involved Mario Rodriguez and was discussed in detail on a recent episode of Popstar. It's worth noting that Delshad is now representing another client in a lawsuit against a major figure in the entertainment industry. As mentioned earlier, we'll be hearing directly from Mr. Delshad shortly to discuss why this lawsuit was filed and how he views the case. Now, back to Brian King Joseph. Some viewers may recognize him from season 13 of America's Got Talent, where he reportedly made it to the top 3. According to the complaint, Joseph is a professional violinist who was engaged by the defendants in connection with a live music tour. His role involved performing as a musician and also assisting as part of the touring crew. At this point, it's important to clarify who is named in the lawsuit. Joseph is not only suing Will Smith, whose legal name is Willard Carroll Smith II, but also a management company connected to Smith, known as Trey Ball Studios Management. One question people may naturally ask is whether there was a real professional connection between the two. According to publicly available material, Joseph shared a video on his Instagram account in December 2024 showing him performing on stage, during which Will Smith appears and introduces him to the audience by name, saying, "Brian King Joseph, ladies and gentlemen." That video was posted on December 15th, 2024.
Brian King Joseph, ladies and gentlemen.
Joseph alleges that around November of 2024, he was contacted by representatives connected to Will Smith and invited to visit Smith's home for an introductory meeting related to a possible recording opportunity. According to the complaint, Joseph went there and performed on the violin. He further claims that Smith later invited him to appear at a live performance in San Diego and discussed the possibility of him joining the Based on a True Story 2025 tour. Joseph states that he did perform at the San Diego show. The video, mentioned earlier, appears to be connected to that event, as Joseph wrote in the caption, "Still pinching myself. 2 sold-out nights with the one and only Will Smith at the Observatory North Park in San Diego." According to the complaint, Joseph says Smith expressed interest in involving him more deeply in future performances. He claims he was told he was a valued part of the team, that additional stage time was discussed, and that there were conversations about potentially contributing to Smith's music tracks. Joseph further alleges that during this period, Smith made a comment to him stating, "You and I have such a special connection that I don't have with anyone else," along with other remarks of a similar nature. These statements are included in the complaint and are presented as allegations. The next portion of the complaint is described as particularly important to the legal claims being made. Joseph alleges that he was given information suggesting he would be included in an upcoming global tour expected to last several months. The complaint states that in reliance on those representations, Joseph informed Smith's representatives that he planned to spend thousands of dollars on additional musical equipment, medication, and other necessities required for the tour. The timeline then moves to March of 2025. Joseph states that he joined the Las Vegas portion of the tour, where hotel accommodations for him and other crew members were arranged by the defendants. According to the complaint, access to his hotel room was limited to authorized crew members and hotel staff. Joseph alleges that during this time, he left a personal bag in a vehicle used to transport the crew. When he asked about retrieving the bag around 3 p.m., he was initially told it could not be located. He claims that approximately 2 hours later, the bag was returned. Joseph further alleges that on the night of March 20th, when he returned to his hotel room, he noticed signs that led him to believe someone had entered the room without his knowledge. According to the complaint, hotel security was contacted and reported that there were no visible signs of forced entry. Joseph states that based on this, he believed only individuals with authorized access could have entered the room. The complaint indicates that Joseph's communications with hotel security were documented through phone calls, which he believes could be reviewed if the case proceeds through the discovery process.
At this point, the complaint describes what Joseph claims he found in the room. According to the filing, this included a handwritten note addressed to him, along with personal items that did not belong to him. The complaint states that these circumstances caused Joseph concern and distress, leading him to fear that an unknown individual might return to the room. Joseph alleges that he immediately reported the situation to hotel security and informed members of Smith's team. The complaint also states that photo documentation was obtained, though it does not specify the exact nature of that documentation. Joseph alleges that following the incident, he changed hotel rooms and contacted the non-emergency police line to report what had occurred. From a legal standpoint, if police records and hotel documentation exist to confirm these steps, the complaint suggests that such records could become important evidence if the case proceeds. At this stage, several questions naturally arise. For example, the complaint references a name, Stone F, but does not explain who that individual is. Another question is whether hotel surveillance footage exists that could later be requested to determine who may have entered the room. Given that the incident is alleged to have occurred relatively recently, those records may still be available. From a defense perspective, attorneys representing Will Smith could also argue that drawing conclusions about intent based on the items found in the room involves speculation. They may question whether the evidence is sufficient to support the inference that someone intended to engage in inappropriate conduct and how, if at all, that conduct could be directly connected to Smith or his management team. While the defendants are alleged to have arranged the hotel accommodations, the legal question remains how responsibility would be established. These are issues that Joseph's attorney is expected to address later. According to the complaint, the following day, March 21st, Joseph returned to Los Angeles to assist the cast and crew with a pre-recorded show. He alleges that he spoke with Tim Miller, whose role is not fully explained in the filing, and was told that it was too late to enter through the crew entrance and that he would instead reconnect with the team in New Mexico for the next portion of the tour. Joseph further alleges that several days later, Miller blamed him for the Las Vegas hotel room incident and that his involvement with the tour was terminated. The complaint claims that when Joseph asked for an explanation, Miller, acting on behalf of the defendants, accused him of fabricating the incident, stating that others believed nothing had happened and that the situation was made up. These allegations raise additional questions, including whether Miller made those statements, why he may have believed the incident was false, and whether there were individuals who disputed Joseph's account. According to the complaint, Joseph says he was shocked by the accusation and provided evidence and a timeline of events. The filing further alleges that no meaningful effort was made to verify his safety concerns, noting that contacting hotel security could have clarified the situation. Instead, Joseph claims the defendants proceeded with terminating his involvement in the tour. The complaint states that Miller later explained, both in person and by email, that the tour was moving in a different direction. However, the filing also alleges that after Joseph's termination, another violinist was hired to fill a similar role, which Joseph argues suggests the stated reason for his removal was not genuine. The complaint goes on to allege that based on information and belief, the defendant's conduct extended beyond a simple employment dispute or failure to address safety concerns. It asserts that the sequence of events, prior statements attributed to Smith, and the circumstances surrounding the hotel incident support Joseph's claims of improper conduct. These assertions are presented as allegations and have not been proven. Joseph further alleges that these events caused him significant emotional distress, financial loss, and reputational harm. The complaint states that the loss of his position had a serious impact on his health and well-being, including psychological effects, which he attributes to the termination. Before turning to further legal analysis, it is also noted that Joseph reportedly shared a video on Instagram earlier this year, just days before the lawsuit was filed.
Earlier this year, I was hired to be a performer on a major tour with somebody who is huge in the industry. So I was excited, proud of myself for getting the opportunity. Unfortunately, some things happened, and I can't get into the details of exactly what that was because it's already a legal issue right now. But the reason why I'm speaking out about this is because getting fired or getting blamed or shamed or threatened or anything like that simply for reporting sexual misconduct or safety threats at work is not okay.
At this point, he did not go into detail about who he was referring to or outline the specific legal claims before the lawsuit became public. Before turning to those claims, there is an important framing issue to address. If these events did occur as alleged, and if Joseph can substantiate them, it is understandably upsetting. It is also worth remembering that this is a civil case, not a criminal one, meaning the burden of proof is significantly lower. Viewed through that lens, it is not difficult to see how these alleged events could have had a serious emotional and professional impact on him. That said, based solely on the four corners of the complaint, it is fair to ask whether some of the conclusions drawn are speculative. Specifically, the complaint connects a single, highly unusual incident to a broader allegation of a pattern of predatory behavior involving Will Smith. The question becomes whether that connection is sufficiently supported at this stage. Is there enough factual detail linking Smith or his team directly to the alleged conduct? Does the complaint contain enough evidence to support claims of sexual exploitation, or does it rely on inference? The filing references prior comments allegedly made by Smith to Joseph, including a statement about having a special connection. Whether that statement is sexual in nature, suggestive of exploitation, or simply reflective of an artistic or professional relationship is open to interpretation. There is room for debate on that point. Complaints are often drafted with limited detail, and additional facts may emerge during discovery through text messages, emails, phone records, or surveillance footage. Still, as it stands now, one could argue the complaint is relatively bare bones. Given that, it is reasonable to wonder whether Smith or his management team might attempt to seek summary judgment, a legal request arguing that there is no genuine issue of material fact for a judge or jury to decide. That is not to say such a motion would succeed, only that the allegations, as currently pled, could invite that type of challenge. Whether the claims ultimately withstand scrutiny remains to be seen. With that context in mind, Joseph's attorney is expected to provide further clarification. Turning now to the causes of action alleged in the complaint. The first cause of action is retaliation in violation of California law.
The core argument is that it is unlawful for an employer to terminate or discriminate against an employee for reporting sexual harassment. To succeed on this claim, Joseph would need to show that he engaged in protected activity, namely reporting conduct he reasonably believed to be sexual harassment, and that his termination was caused by that report. From the defense perspective, Smith and the other defendants would likely argue that the termination occurred for reasons unrelated to any report of harassment. They may contend that they believed the report was untrue, or that the decision was based on performance or other legitimate considerations. The conversation Joseph alleges he had with Tim Miller represents his version of events. The defense would likely dispute that characterization. Timing is another key issue. The proximity between the alleged incident and the termination could pose challenges for the defense if proven, particularly if there was no meaningful investigation into Joseph's claims. A failure to investigate could become a significant factor if the allegations are substantiated. The second cause of action is also for retaliation, this time under the California Labor Code. This claim is similar but focuses on retaliation against an employee for disclosing information the employee reasonably believes violates state or federal law. Again, the concept of protected activity is central, and the same factual disputes apply. The third cause of action is retaliatory termination in violation of public policy. This claim is grounded in California case law rather than a specific statute, and reflects a broader policy against retaliating against employees who raise workplace health or safety concerns. A preliminary review suggests this can stand as a separate cause of action under California law. However, it remains heavily dependent on factual questions: what occurred in the hotel room, how the incident was reported, what Miller allegedly said, and what Smith or his management team knew and when they knew it. The fifth cause of action alleges a violation of the Tom Bain Civil Rights Act. This law allows individuals to sue if their rights under California law or the state constitution are interfered with through threats, intimidation, or coercion. Here, Joseph claims he had the right to report safety concerns without retaliation, a right grounded in labor law and constitutional protections of personal security. The complaint alleges that following these protected actions, the defendants, through their agents, engaged in intimidation or coercion by terminating his employment, providing a pretextual explanation, and replacing him with another violinist. Whether those alleged actions rise to the level required under the Bain Act is a legal question that may require further factual development. The fifth cause of action is under the Ralph Civil Rights Act, which prohibits violence or threats of violence based on characteristics such as sex or sexual orientation. The complaint alleges that the intrusion into the hotel room constituted a violent act or threat of a sexual nature. It further asserts that the items left behind, the note, and prior statements attributed to Smith support an inference that Joseph reasonably believed the conduct was motivated by sex or sexual orientation. Whether that inference is legally sufficient remains a contested issue.
The sixth cause of action alleges sexual harassment in violation of the California Fair Employment and Housing Act, which protects employees from harassment and discrimination in the workplace. The section of the statute referenced in the complaint states that it is unlawful for an employer or any other person to harass an employee on the basis of sex. It also explains that employers may, under certain circumstances, be held responsible for the actions of non-employees if those actions involve harassment of an employee. In this case, Joseph alleges that he was employed by the defendants and was working out of California while preparing for the tour, which is why California law and jurisdiction are being cited. According to the complaint, the alleged incident occurred while he was on tour for the defendants, placing it within the scope of his employment. Joseph claims that someone unlawfully entered a hotel room that had been assigned and arranged by the defendants. He further alleges that a note was left behind that, in his view, suggested an intent to engage in sexual activity. According to his account, he reported this incident. No meaningful action was taken in response, and he was later terminated. Throughout the complaint, Joseph outlines the harm he says he suffered as a result of these events. These alleged damages include severe emotional distress, fear for his personal safety, financial losses, PTSD, and reputational harm. He claims he is entitled to a broad range of economic damages. From an initial legal perspective, the damages portion of the case may be one of the stronger elements. If Joseph can establish that he reported a legitimate workplace safety concern and was terminated because of it, proving financial harm and emotional impact may be more straightforward. He also alleges that being labeled dishonest and losing a significant professional opportunity caused lasting damage, which would likely require his testimony if the case proceeds. As of the time of this recording, no formal statement had been publicly released by Will Smith himself. However, according to People magazine, Smith's attorney, Alan B. Grodsky, issued a statement denying the allegations. He said, quote, that Mr. Joseph's claims are false, baseless, and reckless, that they are categorically denied, and that all available legal options will be pursued to bring the truth to light. It is also worth noting the timing of this lawsuit. It comes during a sensitive period for the actor, following public scrutiny related to the Oscars incident and ongoing efforts to rebuild his public image, including online collaborations. It would not be surprising if the defense argues that the lawsuit was filed at a moment when Smith's reputation was already under pressure, suggesting that the timing could impact perceptions of credibility. Additionally, this lawsuit follows other recent legal headlines involving Smith's family, including a separate lawsuit filed against Jada Pinkett Smith by a former associate. While these matters are unrelated, timing can still influence public narrative, and credibility will likely be a central issue as this case develops.
With that context, the discussion then turns to Joseph's attorney, Jonathan Delshad, who filed the lawsuit on his behalf. When asked why the lawsuit was filed at this particular time, Delshad explained that it was not a strategic move. He said the case had been in preparation for some time, and the filing simply coincided with a quieter period at the end of the year when he had the capacity to finalize and submit it. When asked how Joseph is doing following the lawsuit becoming public, Delshad said that his client is grateful for the support he has received. He noted that the attention has been overwhelming, with significant media interest and requests for interviews. At this stage, Delshad says he has advised Joseph to take a step back and allow things to settle. He emphasized that bringing a public lawsuit against a high-profile celebrity is not an easy decision, even for someone who has had prior exposure through shows like America's Got Talent. According to Delshad, Joseph believed filing the lawsuit was the right decision, despite the pressure involved. The conversation then turned to credibility and visibility. From a legal standpoint, making such claims publicly rather than anonymously can raise questions, but it can also demonstrate a willingness to stand behind one's allegations. When asked to clarify the connection between the alleged hotel room incident and Will Smith himself, Delshad was careful not to speculate. He emphasized that discovery has not yet taken place and that all claims are allegations at this stage. He explained that the core of the lawsuit is retaliation. According to the complaint, Joseph reported what he believed to be sexual harassment based on what he found in the hotel room. Delshad stated that in his view, the report itself qualifies as protected activity. He alleges that after management reviewed the report, Joseph was removed from the tour.
Delshad also pointed out that Joseph had previously been featured prominently during earlier performances and was well received by audiences. He claims that after the incident, the explanation given was that the tour no longer needed a violinist, despite another violinist later being hired. When asked whether Joseph knows who wrote the note found in the hotel room, Delshad said he does not. He confirmed that some independent investigation has been conducted, but declined to share details at this stage. Finally, when asked whether the individual who allegedly wrote the note has any confirmed connection to Will Smith, Delshad said he could not comment and that this is an issue that would need to be explored through discovery. He acknowledged that there are theories, but emphasized that the facts will need to be established through the legal process. Delshad explained that they do have certain beliefs, but he agreed that the key issue is whether the allegations can ultimately be connected back to Will Smith. He noted that this question is especially important when discussing the sexual harassment aspect of the case. However, he pointed out that there is also a separate angle involving retaliation for reporting the alleged incident. According to Delshad, the report was made to the tour manager, described as Smith's right-hand person, identified as Tim Miller. From that perspective, the reporting itself would have reached Smith's management structure. He suggested that the more difficult question is not whether the report was made, but why there would allegedly be retaliation after the report. The discussion then turned to Tim Miller and the alleged conversation referenced in the complaint. One possible argument, as raised, is that the claims were never properly investigated. Delshad emphasized that at a minimum, hotel security could have been contacted, which he says did not happen. It was noted that based on the complaint, Miller could argue either that Joseph was let go because the tour was moving in a different direction, or that management believed the incident was fabricated. The question then becomes, why would Miller allegedly claim that Joseph made up the Las Vegas hotel room incident? Delshad said he does not know why such a claim would be made, and stated that this is precisely the type of issue discovery is meant to address. He explained that this goes to the legal concept of pretext, when an employer's stated reason for termination does not appear to align with the surrounding facts. He added that when an employee is performing well and contributing value, it is unusual for an employer to abruptly terminate them without a clear explanation. In his view, that inconsistency raises questions about whether the stated reason is genuine or whether something else may have influenced the decision. When asked whether anyone from the cast or crew had supported Miller's alleged position that Joseph fabricated the incident, Delshad said he was not aware of such support. He reiterated that, in his opinion, a simple call to hotel security could have clarified the situation, as Las Vegas hotels typically maintain extensive surveillance systems. When asked whether surveillance footage had been reviewed, Delshad confirmed that such footage exists, but declined to provide further details at this stage. The conversation then returned to Will Smith. It was clarified that only one specific comment attributed to Smith was included in the complaint. The question was whether Joseph was alleging that Smith directly sexually harassed or propositioned him. Delshad stated clearly that this is not the claim currently being made in the complaint. He explained that the comment attributed to Smith was included for contextual reasons, and that there may have been references to other comments that contributed to Joseph's interpretation of the situation. However, he emphasized that these issues remain to be explored through discovery. Delshad cautioned against speculation and explained that at this stage, he can only rely on what his client has shared with him. He stated that the purpose of discovery is to determine what happened, who was involved, and what evidence exists. He added that as more facts come out, they would be willing to provide updates. When asked whether there were additional comments from Smith that could have been included in the complaint, Delshad said he did not recall the specific reasoning. He noted that complaints do not always include every detail, especially in California, where not every fact must be pleaded at the outset. He acknowledged that some information may have been intentionally left out to be developed later.
Finally, the discussion turned to Joseph's goals in filing the lawsuit. Delshad explained that from his perspective, plaintiffs do not bring lawsuits simply to create conflict. Instead, he said, lawsuits are a legal response when someone believes the law has been violated. His client, he explained, is seeking accountability and justice through the legal process, whatever form that ultimately takes. Delshad went on to explain that the legal system exists so disputes can be resolved through courts rather than conflict. He described this lawsuit as the mechanism his client is using to assert his right to a workplace free from retaliation and harassment, as provided under the law. He emphasized that Joseph did not seek public attention. Instead, according to Delshad, the lawsuit was a response to how Joseph was treated. The filing, he said, was the legal outcome of those actions, not a publicity decision. As for what Joseph wants, Delshad explained that, like most plaintiffs, his client is seeking justice. He said the complaint does not list a specific dollar amount because they want a jury to determine what is fair based on the evidence presented. Whatever the jury believes reflects Joseph's damages, that is what he would be seeking. Delshad stressed that Joseph is not attempting to harm Will Smith or cause unnecessary hardship. Rather, he is focused on accountability for what he believes happened. He noted that Joseph's career appeared to be on a strong upward path after being hired for the tour, and that things allegedly changed immediately after he reported the incident. The question, Delshad said, is how to fairly address that loss, which is something juries are tasked with deciding. He also acknowledged that the case is still in its early stages and that there is a long road ahead before any final outcome. Before concluding, the discussion turned to the section of the complaint addressing the harm Joseph claims to have suffered, including financial loss, emotional distress, and mental health struggles. When asked what Joseph's life has been like since leaving the tour, Delshad said it was difficult to summarize, but that he has observed a wide range of reactions among clients in similar situations. Delshad explained that he is highly selective in the cases he takes, and that many people who experience job termination recover quickly and move forward. Others, however, experience significant emotional difficulty, especially when the loss feels unfair or unexpected. He described how employment often represents stability, future plans, and personal identity. When that is suddenly taken away, particularly under stressful circumstances, it can leave a lasting impact. While some people are able to rebound quickly, others struggle for much longer. According to Delshad, Joseph fell on the more difficult end of that spectrum. He said the experience had a serious effect on him for an extended period of time, although he acknowledged that healing can happen gradually as time passes. The interview then concluded with thanks exchanged between the host and Delshad, along with an invitation to continue the conversation as the case develops. The segment ended with a sign-off and a reminder for viewers to subscribe.